Chapter 5 The Silver Lining by Dr. Chaman Nahal. In this story, we are going to learn about the author, Dr. Chaman Nahal, the title of the story, The Silver Lining, introduction to the main character of the story, explanation, and meaning of new and difficult words. The Silver Lining is a very famous story written by Dr. Chaman Nahal. Something about the author. Dr. Chaman Nahal, the author of this story, was born in Sialkot in 1927. He was known for writing novels, reviews, articles, and works of criticism. He was one of the best Indian writers in English. He became well known for his work Azadi, which is about the India independence. His autobiography Silent Life, which talks about his life. The Silver Lining was taken from a volume of short stories entitled The Weird Dance. Now let us talk about the title of the story. The Silver Lining. You might have heard of the English proverb, every cloud has a silver lining. When we say every cloud has a silver lining, we mean that every sad or unpleasant situation has a positive side to it. Mostly we express this proverb when we encourage and give hope to our friends or family members who are facing difficulties and problems in their life, to remind that there is something good in everything that's bad. So here, cloud shows difficult times and silver lining shows good time once the clouds are gone. The story The Silver Lining gives great message of hope. So now we come to the character of the story, The Silver Lining. The story of The Silver Lining is a story of a small family. And we have here the narrator, whose name is Mr. Dhanda. He stays in the guest house. He was a very kind, friendly, thoughtful, and very pleasant man. The host is Mr. Bhandari. He is a North Indian. He was a well-built man with large bony limbs and had a dark figure. He was extremely well-mannered. The hostess, we have Mrs. Bhandari. She is a South Indian lady. She married to a North Indian. She had a dark complexion but had a very pleasant face, always smiling, and she was a very kind lady. Pramodini, she is the daughter of the host, and she is 8 years old, very charming, but she is deaf and dumb. Mr. David, he was barely 25 years, and he too is deaf and dumb. Facilities of the guest house in the Hill Resort. It is close to the bus stand, close to the market, close to the post office. Excellent cuisine, good scenery, well-behaved host, and silent place. In this story, the narrator learns that Pramodini is deaf and dumb. The narrator tried to give solution to the host to overcome Pramodini's disability. So thus, the silver lining appeared when Mr. David arrived at the guest house and started playing with Pramodini. If he hadn't seen the chit, Pramodini's chances of improvement could have been far-fetched dream or impossible. Now we shall learn the story in details. I shall read the story, explain the paragraph, and I will give you side by side the difficult words or the words that we need to learn. It is difficult to assess the range and quality of human emotions. Those with smiling, evergreen faces may have worm-like griefs. gnawing at their existence, and a dull, idiotic-looking person may be blissfully happy. Life is a strange, humdrum affair, where even a few moments of peace snatched should probably be gratefully acknowledged. The words to know here are assess, which means to estimate the quality or worth of, gnawing, causing persistent worrying or distress, dull, lacking interest, idiotic, that means stupid, existence, continued survival, blissfully, in a way that provide perfect happiness, humdrum affair, lacking excitement or monotonous or dull, acknowledged, to accept the importance or truth. In this first paragraph, it reminds us of another proverb which says, "Don't judge the book by its cover," which means we cannot judge anyone by looking at their outward appearance. Sometimes the outward appearance can deceive us. We don't really know what the person goes through inside of them. At times, we see in the group when the person who always makes others to laugh and he looks to be always happy can be the saddest person in the group. And in the other hand, the person who seems to be always sad and unhappy can be the most happiest person. The rich person may look poor at the way they dress or behave, and the poor person may look like they are very rich, but in reality they are poor. At times, life can be and monotonous. But those moments when we experience peace and joy, this experience can linger on in our life that will make us always remain grateful to the person or situations. I recently had the very pleasant experience of staying at a guest house in one of the hill resorts. A friend of mine had earlier warmly recommended the place to me, claiming for it all the facilities which most of these boarding houses advertise but generally lack. It was centrally situated, close to the post office, close to the market, close to the bus stand, and was yet isolated and away from the common din. There was pleasant views to be enjoyed from there. It had excellent cuisine. I was well looked after by one of the most charming hostesses who one could find anywhere. The words that we need to learn here are: hill resorts are a mountainous place frequently visited for holiday, recommended, advised or suggested as good or suitable. Guest house is a private house offering accommodation to paying guests, claiming, to state to be true, advertise, to make known of, isolated, away from other places, din, loud, continued noise, cuisine, style or quality of cooking or arrangement. In this paragraph, it gives us an idea about the narrator. He is a man who likes traveling and a very experienced person in traveling. This time, he had a very good experience staying in a guest house in the hill resorts. This guest house was recommended strongly by his friend, who might have already stayed in this guest house. This guest house was situated or located close to the post office, market, and though it is close to the bus stand, yet it is isolated and silent. The view from this guest house was very beautiful and pleasant. If you had visited hill stations with your family members, you might understand better the real beauty of these places. Besides the beauty of the place, the narrator also enjoyed the taste of food and especially the hospitality of the hostess. No one has ever looked after him so well like this lady. I discovered that the place exactly corresponded to the details described. But it was the hostess particularly, and her husband and their little daughter who really proved to be the center of attraction to me. The lady belonged to the south, though she had married to a North Indian. She was rather dark, but had a very pleasant face, all smiles and kindness. The husband was a huge swarthy man with large bony limbs. He was extremely well mannered, and there was not a trace of that untempered roughness which one finds in most men hailing from the north. The words to know here are corresponded, close similarity, particularly means especially, center of attraction, someone whom everyone notices, swarthy, dark in complexion, untempered, not restrained, well-mannered, having or showing good manners, hailing from, to have as one's place of birth or residence. The narrator shared his experience with the Bhandari's family. He explains each character very vividly or very clearly. The hostess was married to a North Indian. She had a dark complexion, but very pleasant to look at, always smiling and kind. The husband was a well-built man with large bony limbs and had a dark figure. He was extremely well-mannered, and there was nothing unpleasant in his behavior. Though the couples were from different places, yet they are a perfect couple. Both of them were very kind, friendly, and hospitable. The narrator liked them very much, especially their daughter, who are the center of attraction to him. Mrs. Bhandari, the landlady, took me in the moment I arrived. She looked after my luggage, gave instructions regarding my room, had a cup of delicious coffee improvised in no time, and then put me at my ease by talking to me informally about myself and my visit. I was completely won over by the family. It appeared as if I had known them for years. The words to be learned: produced in no time or improvised in no time, that means very quickly, at my ease, relaxed, won over by means convince one to like you. The narrator here continues to share here in this paragraph that Mrs. Bhandari took care of his luggage and gave direction regarding his room. Then she prepared quickly a cup of delicious coffee. She spoke to him very politely and made him feel at home. She did not make him feel that he is a stranger. She made him feel one with them. And the narrator himself feels that they treat him as though they had known him for a long time. While thus chatting with the two of them, I became aware of the slightly built girl hiding behind the settee. She must have been about 8 and was sweet and charming like her mother. Her hair was closely cropped, with a straight fringe across the forehead in Chinese fashion. She was in jeans and in her half-sleeved loose jersey and high boots looked a miniature of a jungle queen. But she was behaving a bit too timidly for one and was trying to avoid me. I couldn't help smiling. I saw that she was staring at me. I said, "What's your name?" and beckoned to her to come to me. The girl became immediately self-conscious, shook her head, and stood where she was. The words that we need to learn here are became aware of, which means to notice something, slightly built, words to learn, became aware of, which means to notice something, slightly built, thin and not very strong. Settee is a long sofa for more than one person. Beckoned, to make a gesture with hand or head to call someone. Self-conscious means embarrassed, uncomfortable. Fringe, having a decorative border. As the narrator was talking to the couples, he noticed or saw a girl of about 8 years hiding behind the sofa. She had a very pretty face like a mother. She wore jeans with half-sleeved loose jersey and high boots. She looks like a jungle queen. She was very cute, but she seems to be shy and tried to avoid the guest. The narrator asked her name and called her, but the girl became uncomfortable and shook her head. I called once more. "Hello, come here, my dear." She blushed and again shook her head. After a second, she ran out. I thought I saw tears in her eyes. I suddenly became aware of an awkward pause in the room, and turning to look at the Bhandaris, I discovered that both of them were frowning, a painful look on their faces. Mr. Bhandari squeezed the arm of his wife and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Mr. Dhanda. You see, our daughter cannot hear anything nor speak. That's why she didn't come to you." The words that we need to learn here are awkward pause, which means uncomfortable silence. Frowning, an expression of displeasure by furrowing brows. Apologetically means regretfully accepting fault. Squeezed means firmly press something soft, typically with one's finger. The narrator once again here called the girl. The girl turned red. She once again shook her head and ran out from the room. He could see tears in the eyes of the girl. The narrator experienced an uncomfortable silence at this time. He noticed that the Bhandaris were frowning. There was pain and sadness in their face. They were unhappy. Slowly and painfully, Mr. Bhandari regretfully revealed to Mr. Dhanda, the narrator, that their daughter is unable to hear or speak. Dear students, we shall stop here this video, and I would like to request you to kindly read the story from your textbook till where we stop. Before you read, please write down the meaning of the difficult words in your textbook to help you to understand the story better. And we shall learn more about this little girl in the next video. Till then, bye-bye, take care, and may God bless you.